The only reason Putin's in Alaska, he didn't come to see how Alaska was doing after he bought it. He came to Alaska because Trump threatened to put a 50% tariff on India for buying Russian oil and gas. What's the weakness of Russia? Almost all of their income comes from oil and gas sales. If we went after the customers of Russia and said you had to pick between the American economy and buying cheap Russian oil or gas, they would pick the American economy. And my advice to President Trump and Marco is if you got to convince Putin that if this war doesn't end justly and honorably, with Ukraine making concessions also, we're going to destroy the Russian economy. We have the ability to do it.
This is my video update on this Monday midday, August the 18th, coming to you from Limassol, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. Hello, Limassol Turtle. So, we have Alensky and his entourage, the A-team, in the United States today to meet with U.S. President Trump. Cyprus 3-on-3 basketball tournament. Keep ballin'. Cool place to have a 3-on-3 tournament, huh? Let's check it out. What a great spot to play basketball. So the A-team is in the United States. Alensky and the A-team. We are talking about, let's see here. We are talking about Frederick Merz. This is the final lineup of the A-team that will be accompanying Alensky, that will be at the White House with Zelensky and meeting with Trump. We are talking about Frederick Merz, Macron, Meloni, Ursula, Stubb, and Mark Rutte. It looks like that is the starting six. The starting six for today's meeting with Trump. So the itinerary is that Trump at, I believe, I want to say 8 o'clock my time here. I'm not sure what time is that in DC. 7 hours back. So 1 o'clock if we do some Annalena math. 1 p.m. we have Trump meeting with Alensky, and at 10 p.m. my time here, which is 3 o'clock DC time. I'm doing some Annalena math. 7 hours and back, Washington, DC, East Coast time. That would be 3 o'clock. Trump is going to be meeting with the A-team. I have the theme song of the A-team in my head, right? Hannibal is Merz. Mr. T, B.A. Baracus. That would be Macron. Macron would be B.A. Baracus. Oh man, let's see. Who else? Faceman? Remember Faceman? That would be, no, let's change it up. B.A. Baracus would be Rutte. Rutte would be B.A. Baracus. Faceman would be Macron. And Ursula, she would be the crazy guy, Murdoch of the A-team. I don't know where Meloni fits in, or Stubb. I don't know where Stubb and Meloni fits in. But anyway, Meloni, she's just there to try and score a date with Elon Musk. That's the only reason she's going. That's it. Anyway, that's the itinerary. First, Alensky, and then the 18, the Europeans. That's how this thing is going to go down. So Rubio was on CBS News, and he basically said that if Ukraine does not accept what Trump is going to offer them, which is Istanbul Plus in one form or another, if Alensky does not accept it, then things are going to get a whole lot worse for Ukraine. Rubio told CBS on Sunday that there's no conditions that can be imposed on Ukraine. Ultimately, it's up to the Ukrainians to decide on whether to accept an agreement with Russia. However, it is clear that after 3.5 years, this war is getting worse. It's not getting better. It's going to get worse, the secretary stated. And when he means it's going to get worse, he's talking about the military situation for Ukraine. The Russian delegation really filled in the Trump administration as to what is really happening in Ukraine. That's how it looks to me. They told them the real situation on the front lines. I imagine the real situation when it comes to casualties. They talked to them about the failure that is sanctions and the failure that will be secondary sanctions. And it does look like the Trump White House finally understood what the reality of the situation is when it comes to Project Ukraine. Of course, the Trump White House and Trump, the president, he can always flip-flop back to the Graham-Kellogg position, but something tells me that's not going to happen. But it's always a possibility that we have to be made aware of, a possibility that we all know, that Trump can easily flip-flop back to the Kellogg position. I don't like Putin. I'm disgusted with Putin. And let's send $55 billion to Project Ukraine. So that was Rubio, his warning to Alensky. Take whatever is offered because things will get worse. And Alensky, he posted on X that he has landed in the United States and he's ready to work with the coalition of the willing, the coalition of the losers. And he still believes that Ukraine is doing well on the front lines. He put out on X a long post, which I am positive he did not write. He did not put this post together. I believe it was Macron and Stammer and the script writers in London and Paris that wrote this for Alensky. But in this post, this very long post for the Green Goblin, in the middle of the post, Alensky says, "Now our soldiers have successes in Donetsk and Sumy region." What is he talking about, man? Talk about delusional. You know, there is that rumor, which could be true. It could be true that Yermak and Budanov and Podolyak, that they really don't tell Alensky what's going on, that they feed Alensky false information. So he really doesn't have a clear picture as to what is really happening in Ukraine. And then you put all of the other activities that Alensky is up to, right? And who knows, maybe he really doesn't have a clear picture as to what is happening on the front lines. So anyway, I doubt that's the real situation, though. I think this is all scripted by France and the UK, this post, and they know that the Trump White House is going to read this And they want to try and trick the Trump White House after the Alaska meeting into believing that the situation on the front line is actually in Ukraine's favor, which is delusional. But anyway, I throw out all of the possibilities that could be going on when it comes to Alensky, his regime, and Project Ukraine. I still hold to the belief that the two countries that are running the Green Goblin are, at this point in time, that have taken the lead is France and the UK. So, Trump does write his own Truth Social posts. He does write his own Truth Social posts, no doubt about it. And boy, did he put out a lot of posts yesterday. So he took a shot at the neocons, and he wrote, "The very unattractive, both inside and out, Senator from Connecticut, Chris Murphy, said Putin got everything that he wanted. Actually, nobody got anything. Too soon, but getting close. Murphy is a lightweight who thinks it made the Russian president look good in coming to America. Actually, it was very hard for President Putin to do so. This war can be ended now, but stupid people like Murphy, Bolton, and others make it much harder to do so." So that's his swipe at the neocons. Then he posted, "President Zelensky of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to, or he can continue to fight. Remember how it started. No getting back. Obama given Crimea 12 years ago without a shot being fired, and no going into NATO by Ukraine. Some things never change." That's the important post from all the messages he put up on Truth Social. That one is the important one, because what Trump is saying here is that there will be no NATO for Ukraine, and Crimea is Russia. That's what he's saying in this post. Forget about Crimea. It's over. It was over 12 years ago under Obama. That's a done deal. And as far as NATO for Ukraine, this fantasy that Ukraine has some sort of a pathway into NATO, forget about that. And he also says in this post that everything hinges on Alensky, which is a big Russian victory that they achieved in Alaska by taking this meeting with Trump, by going to Alaska. What Russia has managed to do is to present the real situation to the Trump administration, and to get the Trump administration to realize that the real obstacle to peace, the real obstacle to a resolution in Project Ukraine, is with Alensky and the Europeans. And they've given Trump a very nice off-ramp. Rubio hinted at it. Trump is hinting at it. It's now up to you, Alensky. It's up to you, Europeans. Are you going to take this deal that we're putting together with Russia, or are you going to reject it? If you reject it, we're Audi 5000. We've done all we can do. Of course, Trump can always flip-flop. You always have to say that. He can always flip-flop to the Kellogg-Graham position. So you always have to mention that. Anyway, Trump also posted, "Big day at the White House tomorrow. Never had so many European leaders at one time. My great honor to host them. President DJT." He doesn't like the European leaders, and most of them don't like him, except for Macron and Stoop. Macron and Stoop, they use him. They don't like him. They use him. Trump also said 1 year ago, the United States was an almost dead country. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world. The envy of all. What a difference a president makes. Give him the Nobel Peace Prize. That's the message here. Give him the Nobel Peace Prize. And then Trump says, "Do the great American flags I put up in front of both entrances of the White House look fantastic or what? Wow, what a difference. President Donald J. Trump." Those are the messages that he sent on Truth ahead of the big meeting with Alensky and the Europeans. And the Europeans, they have pretty much abandoned the whole unconditional ceasefire thing. They have pretty much abandoned that. Alensky's still holding on to that. Alensky said in his post on X and in his speech yesterday from Brussels that he is going to continue to push for a ceasefire on the current contact line to freeze the conflict, and that's where negotiations will begin from. And you have to have an unconditional ceasefire from the frozen contact lines in order to get him on board with some sort of a negotiation with Russia and with Putin. That is what Alensky is going to continue to push for as he meets with Trump, which is a non-starter for Russia and for Trump now as well. If you go by his messages on Truth Social, that's going to be a non-starter. But anyway, that's going to be Alensky's strategy. The Europeans, it does look like they're abandoning the whole unconditional ceasefire thing, and they're now really focused on security guarantees. That is what they're focused on. Macron doesn't rule out Ukraine recognizing loss of lands under peace deal. According to the French leader, the Coalition of the Willing met on Sunday to discuss security guarantees to Kiev, which will be once again discussed on Monday at a meeting with US President Donald Trump in Washington. The Financial Times is reporting that Alensky and allies to press Donald Trump on security guarantees. And you have the Prime Minister of Canada, who is voicing support for Trump's peace efforts and encourages U.S. security guarantees. The Coalition of the Willing, the collective West without the United States, they are now focusing on security guarantees. And why are they focusing on security guarantees? Because that's the last option that is left for them in order to keep Project Ukraine alive, in order to keep the U.S. invested in Europe, and to keep the washing machine spinning. That's all they have left now. They tried the unconditional ceasefire thing, didn't work, did not work. They've tried sanctions. By the way, Ursula has announced that an 18th or 19th, a 19th sanctions package. Is that where what we're on now? Callas announced it yesterday as well, but Ursula confirmed it. I think 19. She said that the 19th sanctions package is ready to go. That's their answer for everything. Sanctions package. That's our answer for everything. But yeah, security guarantees. That's all they've got left. They want those security guarantees because they want U.S. Specifically, they want U.S. security guarantees. We have to say that because Russia can be on board with security guarantees, but that would mean Russia and China and India, they would be the guarantors, right? And the collective West doesn't want that. Collective West wants the UK and France and NATO countries and the United States, and especially the United States, to be the guarantors for Ukraine. In other words, they want NATO. They're not going to say NATO, but they want NATO with the United States to be present in Ukraine, because for the Europeans, U.S. involvement in Ukraine is their way of keeping the U.S. involved in Europe and not pivoting away from Europe. That's what matters to the Europeans. That's what Ukraine is to them. Ukraine to them is a way to keep the United States in. The United States in. Germany down, Russia out. They really do follow that NATO mantra, don't they? They really do follow it. But yeah, that's what Ukraine is to them. And so if they can get Trump to say, okay, the United States will agree to, or will push Russia to get the United States to have troops in Ukraine, and we'll push for French and for UK troops in Ukraine. We'll push for all of that, and that will be the security guarantees. For the Europeans, that would mean that effectively NATO is now in Ukraine, and that effectively means that the United States is bogged down in Ukraine, but more importantly is bogged down and committed to Europe. And the most important part of all of this is that the washing machine will continue to spin and spin and spin. And that's the ultimate goal for the Europeans. That's why they keep on talking about security guarantees. That's why they're obsessed now with security guarantees, because that's all they have left. The unconditional ceasefire thing failed. This is their last play. So that is what is going on there. That is what the Europeans are going to push for. Alensky's going to push for the ceasefire, frozen contact line ceasefire, and the Europeans are going to push for U.S. supported and backed security guarantees. So the FSB, they listen to the cicadas, super loud. The FSB, they foiled a plot by Ukraine. I wonder which European country was working with Ukraine in this plot to blow up the Kerch Bridge, the Crimea Bridge. We really have come full circle in a way, because much of the sabotage plots from the collective Western Ukraine in the first year of the conflict were focused on the Kerch Bridge, and here we are again looking at another attempt to blow up the Kerch Bridge, but the FSB, they foiled that attempt. And yesterday we had the Russian military smashing the SOCAR oil pipeline and depot, which is very close to Odessa. Remember on August, I want to say 6th, when the Russian military, they smashed the gas pipeline that Azerbaijan had running, the gas compressor station. That's what they smashed. A compressor station from Azerbaijan that was located in Odessa, very close to Romania. That happened on August the 6th. And then Azerbaijan issued all kinds of threats to Russia. And Russia's response to all of these threats is that they have now demolished, and this is according to Azerbaijan media, which says all of the oil depots, everything, the oil depot, everything, the storage has been completely obliterated. Also in Odessa, Azerbaijan, SOCAR, the SOCAR company that had this oil depot in Orivka. That's what the Russians hit in Ukraine's Odessa region. They targeted a rail station and a fuel terminal operated by SOCAR, the state oil company, Azerbaijan state oil company. So there's Russia's answer to Aliyev. Aliyev's empty threats. The threats that Aliyev is making, that there is no possible way he can back them up. So why not Russia? Russia hitting the Azerbaijan oil depot, they hit the gas station. If the strategy is to get a joint venture, eventually to get a joint venture working with the United States, so Russia provides all the energy, and they sell all the energy to the United States, to some U.S. company, and then the U.S. company sells the energy to the Europeans. Why not remove Azerbaijan as a player, I guess? I don't know, but the Russians are not going to let Azerbaijan, especially now, as we're approaching some sort of a resolution, they're not going to let Azerbaijan move into this region. So that is the news, everybody. We await this evening, my time, this afternoon, U.S. time, East Coast time, to see what happens. 3 options. Trump gets the Europeans and Zelensky to agree to Russia's terms, what was agreed on in Alaska. That's option number 1. Option number 2 is that Alensky and the Europeans, they decide not to agree with the terms from Alaska, and then the United States can walk away. Or option number 3, Trump goes back to the Keith Kellogg, Lindsey Graham neocon position. Those are the 3 options. We'll see what happens. And there could be the possibility, which is also something that could come out of these meetings, where the United States walks away, but it walks away continuing to sell weapons to the Europeans. That's also possible. Even though the US, I've seen the waiting lists for the Patriot systems, for example, to Switzerland, they're going to wait forever for a Patriot system. The US can say that they're going to sell weapons to Europe, and Europe may believe that they can continue to fight the war by purchasing US weapons and then giving them to Ukraine. I don't see that as a viable option. But that may be something that takes shape after all these meetings and after the whining and complaining from the Europeans and Alensky. We could see something like that. Whatever the outcome from these meetings, one thing is certain: NATO, the collective West, Ukraine, they've lost. That's the one certainty in all of this. At least that is the trajectory of things, man. Tough walking around in Limassol, I'm telling you. Oh boy. All right, so in Greek media, they're already blasting Greek Prime Minister Mitsotakis for choosing the wrong side in this conflict. The actual title from this publication is "On the Wrong Side of History." And it actually says, and has Mitsotakis hugging the Green Goblin, and it actually says that Greece is in the club of the losers after Alaska. They chose the club of losers. After the Alaska summit, it's very clear who the winners are and who the losers are. And the United States could be getting an off-ramp, and Trump could be seeing a Nobel Peace Prize, and the Europeans are going to be left as the definitive losing side. Even though this was a US proxy war, the Europeans played this thing terribly. Boy, did they really play this thing terribly, man. So dumb. So freaking dumb. So should we do a clown world? Wrap this video up. From Politico, the title of their article says, "Trump isn't the peacemaker he thinks he is. The US president's desire to be peacemaker in chief is based on a profound fallacy that peace merely entails an end to fighting." They really want this war to continue. The globalists and the mainstream media, people at Politico. That's right. Peace is not about the end of fighting. That's not what peace is about. So you might as well keep on fighting, right? War is peace. Very Orwellian from Politico. All right. Alensky, what is he going to be wearing today at the White House? The rumors are that the White House told him, "You had better put on a suit and tie as you enter the White House doors, Mr. Alensky." We will see. In Brussels, he was almost there. He was almost there. You can see that the transition is almost complete for Alensky. We really are about to come to a conclusion to Project Ukraine, because in Brussels, he was wearing a black outfit with a nice jacket, and I believe a black, I think it was a black dress shirt, without the tie. Without the tie. And he was wearing lifts. The UK media was putting out the stories about Putin in an exoskeleton and Putin wearing lifts, when yesterday it was obvious that Alensky was wearing lifts in his shoes. It's all projection, man. Everything they say is just projection, man. So we'll see if he finally puts on the tie. That seems to be the one part of the outfit that is still missing. He's got the jacket now, he's got the dress shirt. All that's missing is the tie. And when he puts on the tie, well, we've come to an end when he puts on that tie, and this video is coming to an end. theduran.locals.com. Check us out on X, and you can check us out on Telegram as well, and Rumble. And I will see everybody tomorrow when the big meeting concludes. Take care.